I go around, I talk to these veterans, I tell them where I've been, what I was, how I thought, so that I could maybe relate to if anybody in the room is there.
To do a big intro, and then I realized it just made it too like interviewy.
Yeah.
It was just me ask question, they give answer. And so normally we've been going in an organic conversation, but we still don't have like I need a nod from him like, all right, we're going.
Yeah.
Dude, what do you got? You got so much going on. It seems like you're a very busy man. Like, what all do you? You're training for an Ironman.
Yeah.
You got companies going on, podcasts going on. You're making appearances. You're speaking. Like, what all else do you got going on?
Yeah, like well, number one, I'm a father. Right?
Okay.
I got 2 daughters. It's where I just got back from dropping them off at school.
There you go.
I got daddy daughter dance tonight. So
do you really?
Yeah. Yeah. So we've been prepping for that. But yeah, I mean, I'm running an Ironman right now. That's more of individually my personal thing right now. I always got my businesses going and stuff like that. But I believe every day you got to wake up and do something every day to make yourself. Like, if we don't have our own challenge, like our own battles, something that we're trying to chip away at.
Yeah.
Problem is when we don't have that, we'll turn it on other things. Mm-hmm. That we don't need it turned on,
yep.
Right? So I call it creating your own battleground, right? And so that's what the Ironman is for me.
Okay.
I've got Own the Dash, which is a company. It's like an overall arching brand of my philosophy on life of going out, helping others, doing good. Apparel company, things like that. It's more of a brand though, right? Like a community. Mm-hmm. And then I've got Dash Hydrate, as you see here. Most comprehensive hydration formula on the market. I built it because all the other ones suck, right? And so I know it's easy to say, but it's just true. And so would I do a ton of speaking, a lot of consulting, work for one thing I'm really passionate about is helping veterans transition, getting that good transition back.
Yeah.
And so I was a veteran, so being able to go back and pave the way a little bit better and help and chip away at that to be able to help integrate veterans back into their community. And so just that's kind of the basics of what I got going on.
Right. The big thing you said that jumps out is helping people. Yeah. We talked a little bit about before we started recording, but that to me, I was saying before, I didn't know a world existed where I could take all this pain and all this stuff, this bad stuff I'd done, getting in trouble with the law, going away, which was so out of my character. It's not how I was raised. It's not what we learned in the military. So to find myself in that world was crazy, but then to come out of it, the only thing that's kind of made it all worthwhile is the ability to take that stuff and help people. And, I'm sure we have some similarities in our experience post-military, a lot, some different. It seems like everybody processes things the different way. On my side, I see so much, drugs and alcohol, and like that's really where when we came back from our deployment and everything, the wheels just fell off for so many of us. I'm definitely not excluded from that. And so being able to be on this side and kind of help those guys that have lost their way and they've been out a couple years, but they found substance abuse, that really is what hits my heart and makes everything I've been through worthwhile.
Yeah.
Who all do you, how do you come in contact with these vets getting out, and how do you help them transition?
Well, I what I want to say is I don't know that our generation had a good example of what to be.
Agreed.
You know what I mean? Like, good or bad, we came back with the perception of what the Vietnam generation was. And it was almost like America's box of broken toys. Mm-hmm. And so we just followed in those footsteps. For us, it was like the more combat, like the more messed up you were, the more respectable you were because of what you had seen.
Yeah.
And it was the culture. Mm-hmm. And we see where that got us, because our generation will forever be known as 22 a day. That's the legacy we left behind.
Yeah.
And so what I try to do is I try to look at these service members and I try to get us back to looking up at the World War II generation. Mm-hmm. The legacy we all should be trying to live up to.
Yeah. The
greatest generation. And I don't think that a lot of people put a ton of thought into why they're the greatest generation, because most people just, and the next generation we have coming through is, they're going to be better than us. They challenge things. They want to know why, and they don't just believe what they hear. Mm-hmm. They also challenge and check it, right? Which is something we never did. Mm-hmm. If I walked in and said, "Hey, I'm a doctor. You should drink. You gonna be all right over here?" If I walked in and said, "Hey, I'm a doctor, and you should eat candy every day because that's gonna make you stronger."
Yeah.
We were like, check.
Right.
We're just eating candy every day.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And so we had a lot of bad leadership in front of us. Not bad leadership, but broken. Look, you know as well as I do, we can take more pain than anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually every person, that pain builds up and it has to get out some way.
Yeah.
Nobody ever taught us how to take this pain, process it, and then turn around and use it for good for others.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We weren't, I don't know, maybe you were different, but I know we were never taught that. We were taught
that.
The more messed up you were, the bigger badge of honor it was. If you didn't have PTSD, you didn't do shit. If you weren't messed up, if you weren't drinking to go to sleep every night, you just you hadn't earned your stripes enough to be that.
Yeah.
And man, it's when you look back at it today, where we're at, all of those things of becoming an alcoholic, of treating your mental health with alcohol or drugs, of all of these things of talking shit to people, doing hurtful things to people, and accepting it and thinking that's okay because we're warriors. It's the most unbecoming thing of a warrior that there is.
Yeah.
And so I just don't know that we were ever taught that. And we are kind of learning this. Thank God that guys like me and you, we did make it to the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God that I didn't take that prescription of opioids that they tried to prescribe me, that some doctor told me was going to help me. Thank God. Thank God in 2010 I didn't stay on them. Mm-hmm. Thank God after I was on 13 medications, because they sent me to a PTSD rehab center, that as soon as I didn't feel like who I was again and couldn't remember shit and got up every day and didn't have that fire in me, thank God I quit taking every one of them at that moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Thank God. Now, did it cost me relationships? I still didn't get it right, but I always drank. Not because I was addicted to alcohol. Mm-hmm. Not because I woke up craving alcohol. Mm-hmm. I only drank to suppress the pain.
Yep.
And I trusted me managing the alcohol intake over where the pills were going to take me. Mm-hmm. And that was how I did it.
Yeah.
And, so what I try to do is when I go around and I talk to these veterans, I tell them where I've been, what I was, how I thought, so that I could maybe relate to if anybody in the room is there. And then I tell them, I try to just be and live a life that shows them that it's worth getting help for. Mm. It's worth not going down the broken road. It's worth putting the time and effort in the work, because it's work. You know as well as I do, it's work.
Yeah.
I just try to go out and live a life to show them that they can do it. There is hope to do it. That PTSD isn't this terminal illness that everybody makes it out to be.
Right.
That it's an injury, and that if you rehab it back the right way, and you want to be better, you can go back stronger than ever. And on top of it, you have this unique gift now to be able to help others come to it.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I try to represent when I go out and talk to these veterans, and I try to talk, but it's anybody. What veterans have done, and it's the best marketing campaign ever, is they have literally made it out that their PTSD is something that nobody else could touch, understand. If you weren't in that gunfight with them, then you're a piece of shit and you have no clue how hard it is for them. Mm-hmm. They have found the best marketing campaign out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I'm more, yeah.
And it's like, but we were, I'm not going to speak for you, but I know I was like that.
Yeah.
Dude, I was like that. I got out, man. My go-to line of you holding me accountable was, well, you didn't lose your whole team in a gunfight. You know what that's like.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to say to me?
Right.
You know what I mean? What are you
Right.
going to say? And, but it was my way to dodge looking in the mirror and taking responsibility and of getting help.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I can remember, I got injured. We were doing 3 to 5 second rushes, training to go to Iraq, and I'd come up one time, just kind of tweaked my back a little bit, didn't think anything of it. And the next morning I would go to wake up, I can't sit up out of bed, I can't roll out of bed, herniated 2 discs, pinching my sciatic nerve. We're getting ready to deploy. Everybody's amped up, ready to go, and now all of a sudden they're starting to talk about, I'm not going to deploy, I'm on profile. And so you and I both know what the culture is like in the military. If you're not ready to go, you're not shit to us.
Yeah.
And so now people start looking at me like I'm faking, like I don't want to deploy.
Yeah.
And I'm uber competitive, so that's not going to happen. So I did everything I had to do to make sure that I deploy, which was a horrible decision. Shouldn't have done that. But I can remember, at the time the opioid epidemic wasn't as prevalent, the education wasn't as prevalent. So all they're doing is feeding me bottles of painkillers like this. And then eventually we get back from deployment and it's a problem at this point. And I remember going to my first sergeant and telling him, like, I've got issues, I need to do something about this. And they sent me to a treatment center, 30-day treatment center. Came and got me after 3 days. I wasn't even done withdrawing yet, and said, we're getting ready to go out to the field. You need to come back, sign paperwork, do this, do that. And so I come back, and it was a Friday, and I'm telling the first sergeant, I really need to go back. Like, I'm not well, I'm not right. He's like, oh, just take the weekend, see how everything goes. If you come in on Monday morning and want to go back, we'll send you. And I was like, first sergeant, if I leave here, I'm going to get pills. Like, I'm going to get high. He's like, no, just take the weekend, stick around the barracks, blah, blah, blah. I come back in Monday morning, let him know that I need to go back, and he goes, sounds like you need to take a piss test. And so that was the initial piss test that would end up eventually getting me kicked out of the military. So I get out, and I'm diagnosed PTSD, depression, anxiety disorder, panic disorder, just a laundry list of things. And then their answer is to hand me 15 bottles of pills. And at no time did anybody ever ask me, like, are you exercising? How are you sleeping? How are you eating? Are you drinking water? All these fundamental things to being a good, healthy human being. But I didn't even know that at the time. Like, I wasn't of the health mindset yet. And so here I am trying to take the pills, wondering why I can't stay sober, why my head's all fucked up, like all these different things. And so, I had to discover a lot of this stuff on my own. And so then I discovered running, and I started seeing all these things that truly changed my life. But how am I not supposed to be, and I'm no special case. There's thousands and thousands of us out there. But it's like this one thing that I was more prideful of than anything I've ever done in my life just basically cast me off to the side like a number, which, government property and all that. And it's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to, I don't know what to think. I don't know what to this. And so it's been very cool to end up in a world where I get to use all that to help people. But like everything you said before is exactly the messaging I have. And it's like, we all have this unique ability now. We're able to get a hold of another veteran's, attention than, say, a doctor or somebody like that, because they hadn't been through that. They don't know what it's like.
Yeah, or to be proof that it works, right? And yeah, I'm not anti-medication, because I think that I don't think that everybody out there has it. Some people just don't have it in them to. I mean, everybody has the capability.
Yeah.
But not everybody has.
No, for sure.
They're not going to do it, right?
Yeah.
And so
that, or if you're like schizophrenic, bipolar,
there are those, but I'm also saying just some people are just, they don't want more, right?
Gotcha.
That's the reason there's some people that are employees and there's some people that are employers, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just some people just ain't in them. That drive just ain't in them, right?
Yeah.
But I do believe that everybody's capable of doing that and of getting out of it. And I tell you. You're right. I mean, I tell these people all the time, look, sleep, the number, like the biggest misconception, I talk a lot now to commanders, leadership, NCOs and up. You know what I mean? I speak to all of them, but I speak mainly to NCOs and up. And I'm like, how many times do you walk in and ask your guys girls, whatever, when I say guys, how they're sleeping? I've never thought of that. I go, it's important. It's a big telltale sign of what you got. I said, and if you truly care about lethality, you truly care about, resiliency, I said, the first thing you should ask is how they're sleeping. Mm-hmm. And I said, because what's important to you is important to them. Mm-hmm. If they know you walk around and ask if their barracks is clean, their barracks is clean, right? So I said, for me, what I've had to do is look, my day doesn't start when I wake up. We all put alarm clocks to get up, what time we want to get up, right? Mm-hmm. But how many people go to bed intentionally?
Right.
And when you talk about the biggest effect on your day isn't what time you wake up. It's what time you go to bed. Like, your day doesn't start when you wake up. Your day truly starts when you get in bed.
Right.
And doing that intentionally. Most people are like, oh, I'm going to go to bed when I'm tired. Well, do you get out of bed when you're not tired? Mm-hmm. It just doesn't make sense, right? Intentionally living, right? And then, so number one is sleep. Like I tell people, here's an example. Charge your iPhone or whatever phone you have. Only charge it when you sleep. Only plug it in when you sleep and see where that thing's at all the time. Mm-hmm. You'll be carrying around a battery pack all the time with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and guess what that is? That's some type of stimulant that you have to put in your body. And guess what stimulants do when your body's run down and now you're putting stimulants in, whether it's tobacco, whether it is caffeine, sugar, whatever it is, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, and guess what that causes on your body when you have to take those things to supplement? Mm-hmm. It's called anxiety.
Yep.
Right? I mean, and so it's like, and guess what happens when you feel tired all the time? Guess what you feel? Guess what feels really, really, what is one thing that people with depression always say?
Tired.
I'm tired.
Yep.
It's like they coexist. And it's really hard to differentiate between, are you tired because you're not sleeping, or are you tired because you're truly depressed? Mm-hmm. Big, big difference.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like doing shit when I'm tired. Do you?
Mm-hmm. No.
I don't feel motivated to go to the gym or do anything when I'm tired. Do you?
No.
And so it's like, they all are very similar. So before we got to go and start diagnosing these things, we have to make sure that, I mean, in the military, like if you go to combat and you get injured, it's self-aid, buddy aid. Mm-hmm. Self-aid first. Like, if you can fix yourself first, do it so you don't take somebody else out of the fight. And so, like, for us, we've got to teach each other, because we weren't taught this. Yeah. We were never taught this of look, if you were tired, and even if you had to sleep, if you slept 8 hours a night, it was because you're weak. Sleep is weakness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it was so stupid when you look at the archaic mindset of this. Oh, you need to sleep? Sleep's a crutch.
Right.
No, it's essential.
Yep.
It is the keystone to everything about us and us humanly. It's how we recover. Mm-hmm. I mean, all of it. And so, when you start looking at people being unhealthy, when you start looking at people being mentally unhealthy, physically unhealthy, like, and then you look and see that they're not sleeping, well, no shit.
Yeah.
And so, there's a lot of that. And I just think that, like, we were never taught these mechanisms of how to self-check ourselves, of like, hey, are we sleeping? Oh, if we're not, well, then we need to create good sleep habits. We need to intentionally sleep. Like, it's that important. How much caffeine are we intaking? I mean, dude, how many caffeine drinks? We would drink caffeine 24/7.
With 2 cigarettes in my hands, a rock,
and a dip,
Monster,
in Copenhagen, everything. Right? I mean,
everything. 2 hours of sleep.
2 hours of sleep. You know what I mean? Yeah, it was like, let's rock on, right? Yeah. Drinking at the bars until formation. You know what I mean? And so what I say is for us in the service, and look, these problems are not unique to the military. They're across the board right now, right? But what I'll say is, man, is our culture is the biggest enemy to us. Our culture in the military is killing more of us than anything else. And it's not tradition when it's killing people. Mm-hmm. And so, what I would say is that, we sleep, how much caffeine you're intaking. If you can't go to sleep at night and you're pulling in 800 to 1,000 milligrams of caffeine a day, well, and you wonder why you can't go to sleep at night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
and then you drink yourself to sleep.
So hold on. Let me take these uppers And now let me try to crush them down with a downer.
Yeah.
And then wonder why I feel like shit all the time.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so it's like, but again, it's nothing against those people that do it, but it's like, we were never educated on the effects of all these things that we're throwing in our bodies and then still needing to perform. We just had to perform. And so what happens is we do that, then we, unfortunately for your case, it caught you in the military. Majority of us, it catches us out of it, right? And what I'll say is, man, is what sucks for you is that I don't blame, and it's not my part to blame anybody in your situation. I don't blame that first sergeant. I blame all your NCOs around you. Like, that's not brotherhood. That's not brotherhood.
Yeah.
Brotherhood is, and that's what I try to tell this next generation when I'm talking to them is, you know, look, if you know anybody around you is drinking to go to sleep at night and you haven't said something to them, or you're picking them up to go drink with you out on the weekends, that's not brotherhood. You're a piece of shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Brotherhood is saying, hey man, look, and it's not also not running to tell first sergeant on them either. This is brotherhood, but they don't know this.
Yeah.
Brotherhood is me coming to you and saying, hey man, look, you know I love you. You're drinking every night. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
You don't tell me? No, nothing, man, nothing. All right, well, hey, let's just stop drinking. Let's just stop. Let's go 90 days without drinking. And then you can't do it. We start smelling it again, right? I mean, we're around each other enough. We know everything about each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then it's like, okay, check it out. Look, let's go ahead and try to fix this. Like, let's go get some counseling. Dude, I'll drive you down there and I'll sit in the waiting room every single day. I'll sleep in your floor to help you quit drinking.
Yeah.
That's brotherhood.
Yeah.
That's brotherhood. And then it's like, if you don't want to do that, it's like, okay, well, look, man, if we can't do this and we can't put a plan together to get this fixed to us, I'm going to have to run it up the chain of command. And you know what? Do you think you're going to be happy with me if I have to run up chain of command? But are you going to be happy in 6 to 8 months when you go get help and you didn't put a gun in your mouth and you look back? I mean,
You still have your military career.
Yep. I mean, and like, to be honest with you now, I don't know how you look at it. But yeah, you know what? That first sergeant, I'm not saying that first sergeant went about it the only way he knew how.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? But you know what, man? Do you think that if he didn't do that and you'd stayed in and you kept hiding it and you kept covering it up and you kept staying in and kept deploying?
No, dude, I would have got somebody killed. I would have got myself killed. Everything happened how it
Right?
should have.
And it's like, I get it. I'm not saying it's not wrong.
No, I
right?
get it.
It was the only tool that person knew how to think, right?
For sure.
But man, looking back, where you're at today, let me ask you this: where you're at today and what you're doing today, would you trade any of it in order to trade where you're at?
No.
So it's like, man, that's badass.
Yeah. No, but just like you just said, thankfully I made it to this point in one way or another and didn't put a gun in my mouth or anything, because there were those days. There was those rock bottom moments. I'm sitting there looking around like, why am I even going through this anymore? Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
And then to see so many other people going through it. I know, for me, the adding in the physical piece was changed my whole life.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, me being an addict, I put all my eggs in one basket, try to adjust my mental health, try to adjust my spiritual health. When I adjust the physical health, it like put it all together for me.
Yeah.
That was the biggest, better than the best medicine the doctor never prescribed to me. They tried to give me all the medicines. They never told me about running. They never told me the effects that would have. And so for me, it was that. And just so following along with your story, you went and you did some PTSD stuff where you had gotten, I forget the abbreviation for it, some
SGB. Stellar ganglion block.
Yeah. What was that like?
Yeah. So Dr. Mulvaney, there was this. Actually, I met this person out at Fort Bragg, and she was
Did they change the name of Fort Bragg? I heard.
Yeah, they've changed the name of all of them. Like Hoods now, God, who knows? But anyways, like I went there and this girl's like, hey, you got a lot of anxiety. You need to get this SGB. And I'm like, what's this shit?
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, researched it, and I went and met this guy named Dr. Mulvaney, who actually who built the Stellar Ganglion Block Institute. It's an incredible deal, right? So basically I went in, they gave me a shot in my neck, and dude, it was the first time I felt like I could breathe again.
Really?
Honestly, I didn't know that I had anxiety until I had that shot.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what anxiety was. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
dude,
I
felt
still don't.
right. I felt it for so long.
My wife says she has it all the time, but I don't.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, all right.
Yeah. And let me tell you this. If you ever have anxiety and you ever get bad anxiety, you'll do whatever it takes to not ever have anxiety. Like, it's that bad. Like, I promise you, I would rather you stand here and punch me in the face all day long than for me to have 10 minutes of anxiety.
Really?
It's the worst thing ever. And so, anyways, got the Stellar Ganglion Block, gave me so much instant relief. When I tell you instant relief, I'm talking instant relief. Like, the needle went in, and as he started putting it in, like, I remember laying on the table looking up and just thinking to myself, okay, I'm not going to move. I'm not going to say anything. And he pulled the needle out. And he's like, are you all right? And I'm like, I don't want to say anything. Like, I don't want to think about anything. I don't want to say anything because I just want this to last as long as it can. Like, is this going to stay? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I did that, and I did it quite a few times. And yeah, man, it was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you found it.
Yeah.
Why is it not more prevalent out there?
Because it's not big pharma.
Oh, okay.
It's not big pharma, right? It's
They
not.
can't make money off it yet.
Yeah, it's not big pharma. And, these are, it's not big pharma. It's out there. You can go, listen, there's a ton of thank God for our nonprofits that are out there that are helping bridge this gap to cover these costs right now, right? But yeah, it's out there. Stellar Ganglion Block, look at it, but not all of them are the same either. So the other part of this is the scalability of it and being able to have people who can perform, because it's not just it's easy for me to know how to dose you for medication.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy to perform a hand skill that has to be put somewhere in a perfect spot under the guide. It takes talent, right? And
right.
to build that talent and that level of knowledge on where to put this at, that's what makes this thing so hard to scale.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Damn, where was I gonna go? I can remember I was in the VA. It's a place called the Domiciliary. It's in Temple, and I'm sitting there, laying there, and dude, I weighed about 260 at the time, completely out of shape, fat, had let myself go just due to injury, addiction, and everything. And so I had started kind of like getting more interested in getting back in shape, but it's big for me to the point where I was just going on walks and stuff like that. And so I can remember I discovered Rogan's podcast, and I discovered who Jocko was. I discovered who Cam Hanes was.
Yeah.
And I'm like, these fucking people are out here doing this stuff? Like, I can't believe it. And so I watched them and followed them, and I can remember as years go on, I get into running and I get my personal trainer certification. So now I'm working with people, and I can remember sitting there with one of my clients. His name was Steven, and he got it. You know what I mean? Like, he wasn't in good shape, but he understood the effects it was having on him. And so I was just trying to motivate him, and I'm like, bro, you gotta find people in this world that motivate you, man. Like, find those people and make that your goal. Like, they might not even know you're in competition with them, but you know you are.
Yeah.
And so I used to look at, Jocko get up at 4:30, and I look at Cam Hanes running, he's jacked ultra runner and stuff like that. And so as I'm sitting there telling him this story, I'd started to get into the early lifestyle to where, and then, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but one time I got caught out in an early morning run downtown Austin. Nothing is open, and all of a sudden I got to take a shit, and there's nowhere open.
Yeah.
And so that was the first and only time I will ever let myself leave the house before I've taken care of that to go
That's every day.
to go up for a run. So now I get up super early. So I have an emergency alarm set for 2:30. It never goes off. I'm usually up right around 2.
Yeah.
I'm at the gym by 4:30. Like, I have my morning routine. And so, like you're talking about earlier about with intent, like, I'm in bed at 6:30. I'm asleep by 7. That's how I prefer to live my life. I love being up as early as I am.
Yeah.
and then seeing someone like Cam Hanes run the miles he does and still be as big. And so as I'm telling this dude, I'm sitting there telling him who my people were that I was looking at, and I was like, oh shit, wait a minute. Like, I get up earlier than Jocko. Like, I can hang with Cam in the gym now, I bet. Like, I was like, damn, it's time to like pick new people.
Yeah.
And so who, like, when you were going through all your stuff, did you have those people in your life that you looked at and you're like, all right, motherfucker, like, here I come?
Yeah, so I don't call it, so I think there's a difference between judging and assessing.
Okay.
So I don't, judging is where you sit back and you don't take into account you and what you do and what you say and how, you don't take into account inwardly. You're just judging outwardly, right? That's judging, right? A judge sits up up there and just listens to two sides and says who's wrong and who's right, right? Doesn't think about his own life, like right. Things like that.
Yeah.
Assessing is what we better do with everybody in our life, right? So there's three things that have the biggest effects on who we are, who we will become, where we're going to go, and the life that we're going to live, right? It's everything's on it. Happiness, everything. And it's people, places, and things. People, places, and things, right? The people that we hang around is who we will become. Mm-hmm. The places that we go is who we will become. That we spend the most time at is where we're going to become. Mm-hmm. The things that we do, the things that we take in our body, the things that we bring in, whether it's like conversations we engage in, or the TV that we watch, the shows that we watch, or it's all of these three aspects. Where we invest our time is what we're going to return and what we're ultimately going to become.
Right.
So our circle's big. And so for me, yeah, like, it started out here in Austin though. I got to Austin and started out with Tim Kennedy. Mm-hmm. Because we're veterans, and I'd reached out to Tim, and he's always been kind, and he started taking me down to On It. On It's at, mm-hmm. right? I started working out with, Juan Leja, Eric Leja, John Wolf. I just started working out On It, right? And just going in there and just getting after it with everybody.
Right.
And that's where it kind of started for me, was there. And, then eventually, like I don't think that people are supposed to come in your life forever. Mm-hmm. I think that people are just, it's like, I don't know, it's kind of like, like on an ultra, you run with people for a certain amount, and either they take off, yep. or you fall back. But either way, like, you'll sit there and bullshit with them and have a conversation with them, and then, next thing you know, who knows where you're at, right? And they might have gut issues, but again, like, if you just try to stick with one person or a group of people, essentially you're going to end up where they end up.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm always assessing, like, hey, are we going the same direction? Like, do we have the same priorities? Are we trying to achieve the same thing? Mm-hmm. And then you have to always be assessing if they're doing that. And then, hey, is this person making me better? Like, are they making me worse? And it's not that everybody has to make you better. They don't have to come in and just bring all this great stuff and make you better. But like, the relationship has to be beneficial. And it's not like, oh, you need to support me. You need to do this. It's not that. It's, even if, like, a lot of people that come in my life, they're not supportive of me. Some people I learn the most from and I get the most value from are the people that don't like me, the people that don't agree with me, and the people that don't want to put up with me, or that are negative towards me. And why? Because it helps me. If you're only going to surround yourself with people that tell you how great you are, and that are easy to deal with, and that are motivated, well, you're going to ultimately become weak, because when you're not around motivated people, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
And so for me, man, I get the most a lot of times out of these people that don't like me, that see things different than me, that think mm-hmm. I'm a piece of shit, because it teaches me patience. Mm-hmm. It teaches me how to, like, man, if I can help lead, or if I can find commonalities between that person,
right,
I can do it with anybody.
Yeah.
And so, for me, man, yeah, like, I started out with them, and Brandon Harrell, still a good buddy of mine, and Shane Steiner, and now it's like, but as you go different ways, as you're trying to achieve more things, you just have to keep surrounding yourself by people that are trying to achieve that same thing.
Right.
And now that I'm running, I'm around Dre and Keegan. There's a badass running community down here. And so, getting to go out and spend time with them. I went out to Cam Haines and ran with him. Did his podcast with him, his Lift, Run, Shoot. What an awesome guy. But really the only magic that I have in my life is that I seek out people that are way better than me.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm trying to achieve something.
Mm-hmm.
And then I spend as much time as I can with them, just getting beat up every day. Because man, if I can get to where I'm average to them,
mm-hmm.
then it means that I'm going to be great where I want to be,
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm surrounded by so many incredible people. Jocko is a good friend of mine. In the fire service, man, like, I'm a firefighter as well. And I surround myself with badass people like, Jason Jeffries. I've got, Chief Hayden. I mean, like I literally am just, I tell people all the time.
Killers all around
just killers. If you can't beat me, you definitely don't want to touch my team.
Right.
If you can't beat me all day long and it be easy, you don't want to stand in the circles of the people that I stand in.
Right. There's a saying in recovery. It's, you walk into the rooms of recovery, you surround yourself around people that have what you want in life, and not even just saying material things, but honesty, character, family, friends, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, when it came to the physical stuff, once I got in it, I was never scared. And so, Paul Terranova.
Yeah.
So Paul was somebody that I became connected with pretty early, and so here I'm out at running camps with Paul, and I'm sitting here naive as hell talking shit to him, like, come on, Paul, let's race, let's go. Like, I knew what a beast he was, but it was just me trying to, like, get going and like that. And so it's like, I don't want to be, me personally, I don't want to be in commercial gyms. I want to be in a gym where there's some just bad motherfuckers around that I just look around and see inspiration. And I never want to be the smartest guy in the room. I just always want to be learning. And that's a big thing, man. I think so many people in today's world, I feel like the angry old guy sitting there saying, like, today's generation, but man, if you're comfortable around your people, something's not right. Like, I want people to make me uncomfortable and make me feel like I gotta raise the bar.
Yeah, because but see what people get wrong a lot is they think they're competing against other people, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's like I'm only competing against other people because I'm competing against myself.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
dude, we could go out here and run like it's Ironman. Dude, whether I cross the finish line or not, whether I go and achieve my goal of becoming under 10 hours or not, I'm going to win no matter what, because if I get broke, I at least know where that threshold is and where I have to push through it next time. Like, no matter what, I'm going to win. And that's what people don't understand is I am getting better no matter what.
Right.
Like, I'm getting better no matter what. And where most people's goals are, they ain't nothing but a fucking milestone to me. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, as soon as I become an Ironman, okay, what's next?
That's the gift and the curse
what's next,
right there.
right? But it's all with the purpose of, as much as me doing this Ironman training and spending hours and hours and hours, yeah, I'm learning a lot about being a triathlete. I'm learning all about biking and running and nutrition and all this. I'm learning all that. And people are like, well, I mean, what's that going to help you do in life? Well, you're right. Like me knowing the difference between a cassette and me knowing the difference between a TT bike or whatever, right? It's really not going to help me in my everyday life at all. That's what people don't get is I'm not, this Ironman training, it ain't about me learning how to be a damn Ironman or triathlete. You ought to know the shit that I'm learning about myself every day on these workouts. When I'm out there and I'm like, fuck this, I'm quitting. Mm-hmm. Why am I doing this? This is stupid. And I don't quit. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like it's like leveling up again. And it's like every time that it starts to simmer up, that little bit of bubbling of doubt, of frustration, of the wind's blowing today, like this is bullshit. I'm going to just go turn around and not do the workout.
Right.
Every time I don't do that, I fucking win.
Yep.
And I get better. And I get stronger. And when I get stronger, I'm able to be more for everybody else.
Right. That it is so true. The 100-mile race I did, the one they did the documentary on, there's a part about 3/4 through, it's like mile 70 or something, and I come through and I'm slurring my words, I'm so calorie deficient, I'm not making sense, but I'd went all this at like, I didn't know enough yet about nutrition and all this, and so here I don't know what's wrong. I'm starting to talk about dropping from the race, and luckily there was he's like an angel on my shoulder, but it was a guy I'd been running a bunch of miles with who noticed that, and so he's the one that talked me into going back out on the course, and so he starts shoving calories into me, and by the time I come to the next aid station, I'm like popped back alive, like, man, I had a little meltdown back there, and everybody always laughs at it, but that right there, like, it was such a pivotal moment in my life, because I would have sat there and told you, as sure as my life, like, I'm done, I don't got nothing left, and here I was able to take it another, 30, 35 miles and finish that. But then you start going through like everyday life, and all these normal problems that at one time in my life would have just shattered my life are just like, yeah, man, it's whatever, cool, like, we're gonna push through it. And so just like you're saying, what you're learning about yourself, your threshold, your tenacity, everything like that, it translates into every other aspect of life to me. And I just wish more people were willing to get out there and push themselves. It doesn't got to be crazy. You don't got to go run 100 miles, but get out there and go for a walk. Get out there and run a couple hills.
But think about this, man. You know why? And exactly that moment you just talk about is exactly why we all have to get stronger. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you why. Like that guy so first off, he recognized it. Mm-hmm. Then he knew what to do.
Brotherhood,
right? Because I guarantee the majority of people around you, and you can tell me, maybe I'm wrong, they're looking at you like, yeah, man, it's all right, man. You went 70 miles.
Yeah.
Like, dude, man, if you can't finish, it's okay. Most of them did that.
Yeah.
Like, they were willing to stand there and accept.
That was the thought I was telling myself in my head. I was like, man, if I hang it up at 70 miles, who's going to turn their nose up at that?
Yeah, who's going to turn their nose? That's good, man. I did more than it. You know what I mean?
They won't run that in their entire life.
Yeah.
Who's going to say that?
Who's going to say that, right? And everybody else around you, though. But think about this: everybody else around you was willing to let you justify that and do that.
Right.
Right.
I didn't know you could have a crew then, so there was nobody. But you're right.
But I'm saying, like, whatever, right? But on the backside of it, this guy, he seen that, knew what to do. Mm-hmm. And he came over and did it. Do you want to know why and how he recognized that? Because he'd done it before.
Yeah.
He'd been there.
Good point.
He'd been there. And guess what he didn't do? He didn't fucking stop.
Yeah.
And so guess what? He knew what was on the other side of that. Or who knows, maybe he had been there and did stop and he lived with it forever.
And knew it, yep.
And knew what not doing this meant, right? A dude came to you. He spotted it. He came to you. And he told you how to get through it, and he led you through it.
Yeah.
And now you're thankful for it, and now look how strong you are. But because you hit that low moment, now guess what you have the power to do?
Right.
Recognize it and help somebody else.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about, man, in life. Whether it's changing a tire, whether it's seeing somebody having a bad day, going through a bad relationship thing, that is why we have to push to these moments of breaking and failure. Mm-hmm. In order to get through them and get back up, not just for us, but so that when we see somebody else hit that point, that we can help them get up.
Yeah.
The more we go through and the more we struggle with, and think about this, man, that you feel like that was probably a big moment in your life, mm-hmm. right?
Yeah.
It helped you achieve one of the biggest things that you'd done. Imagine if that first sergeant had been able to do that. Imagine if that first sergeant had been mm-hmm. addicted to drugs at that moment or been addicted to opioids and had got through it. Imagine if he had dealt with his mental health somewhere. Imagine if all the people that had sit here and just fucking, yeah, man, I couldn't imagine what you're going through. That is the people that's killing more veterans. There's all the veterans out there and all of them sitting there looking at people going, man, I couldn't imagine what you've gone through. Let's have a beer to it. Man, it's all right. Nobody could understand what you've gone through, man. It's maybe not. But at the expense of who, man?
Yeah.
At the expense of you. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you want to be around people that make you feel good? People that support you and your bullshit?
Right.
Your weakness? You're going to be weak.
Yeah.
Get around motherfuckers that hold you accountable. They hold you to the standard of what you're capable of, not what you're living up to.
Right. Yeah. Dude, you painted that in a different way than I've ever thought about it, even with this guy that did that for me at the race. Like, and it's funny how, like, that's how I approach everything in life now, the way with my stuff. I never thought about it like that. That's pretty, you're going to leave me thinking about this the rest of the day now. That's
Badass, ain't it?
That is dope. Very
Badass.
good.
And it's like, and think about this, man. Like, how many times do you walk, I don't know, like down the road? So I live by a simple motto. If you can, you must.
Mm-hmm.
If you can, you must. Because not everybody can.
Mm-hmm.
Just like that. Everybody else around you, nothing against them. Nothing against them. I'm sure nobody was out there wanting you to fail or quit. But everybody else, maybe they'd never been to that point.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's seen it. And you know what? He didn't have to come over and help you.
Mm-hmm.
He could have said, fuck it, and went on.
Yeah, this is my race. I'm doing my thing. Yep.
Not my problem. And technically it wasn't his problem.
Yeah.
It was your problem, right?
Yeah.
But he could, and he did.
Mm-hmm.
And look what it did.
Yeah.
Look at and do you think that guy never, and this is what we don't know, is like whether it's somebody walking past, like let's say on the running trail, man. I run past everybody. You know what I say to them? I say, good morning.
Right.
I might be the only person that is positive in their life that day.
Yeah.
Who knows what they're going through? They could have gone out on that run thinking nobody gave a shit about them, and they were going to come back and put a bullet in their mouth.
Yeah.
And I said good morning to them, and maybe it let them know that people do care about them, right? You don't know. That dude has no clue other than helping you get past and finish that race.
Mm-hmm.
Probably has no clue of what you've done. Look at all this.
Right.
Look at the people you're able to impact. Has no clue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so like it's we don't, if we're only doing shit because of the results that we're trying to achieve, then it's not service.
Yeah.
It's serving ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But doing shit because it's the right thing to do and because we can and we have the ability to do it is what serving others is.
Yeah. I remember when I first started, I come from Youngstown, Ohio. There's no running culture, fitness culture there. There's not shit there. And so luckily I ended up in Austin and discovered Town Lake, and I got into running, and it used to just be the most feel-good place I could go. And I was that guy that's running there. Dude, I'm super insecure. I'm newly sober. I don't have the security blanket of drugs or alcohol anymore. I wasn't ripped or anything. I didn't have wasn't 6% body fat like a lot of these runner guys are. But that's why I think that's why it started gravitating towards trail running once I started getting into it, because the culture is so much different than road running.
Yeah.
But you just get out there on the trail, and you could be in a competitive ass race, and you pass somebody or they pass you. Great job, man. Good job. Go get him. And it's just like, oh shit, you can still be competitive and lift people up and do all that.
Yeah.
And it's just, it was so cool. I didn't know it existed out there. And it's like, I found that. It was like, all right, like I found my people. Like this
Pretty
is
badass, isn't it?
Yeah, this is cool.
Yeah, for me, the difference in road running and again, I don't have enough experience to really say, but this is for me. Road running to me is more just mental, right? Like mentally pushing through it. Like how bad can you stay in the shit, right? And we're pretty good at that. For me, man, the ultra I did the Austin Rattler 50K. And for me, I enjoyed that more for the simple fact that it was more emotional. It was more of an emotional than it wasn't. You can't just you can, but like gutting, it's going to tap into that emotional side on when you start getting up above, 20s. You're gonna it starts getting emotional, right? And it starts, I don't know, man. Like for me, I'd never ran that far, so it was like to be able to push myself past that threshold and to see what's in there, what's in me, what's in those. I'll never forget. There was this one point of the run. It's probably like mile 27, maybe 27, 28, and it got pretty dark, you know what I mean? And I just remember thinking, like, my mind, and I love looking back at it, just seeing how weak I am, like, just how much of a bitch I am, right? And my mind just goes in this little, like, self-pity party of like, why are you doing this? Nobody gives a shit. Nobody gives a shit if you finish. Nobody gives a shit if you quit. Nobody gives a shit. Like, why are you doing this? Like, how stupid are you? Like, why would you think this is something you would want to do? And man, I just, like, every foot, like, this hurts. You're going to hurt tomorrow for weeks, and you've got to work. And I went down all, like, and it was so good for me because it just exposed all of my bullshit excuses that I use. It's like, shut up.
Yeah.
Like, no. Nope, this ain't it. You know what I mean? It was kind of like, it was a pretty eye-opening moment.
The way I describe a lot of the ultras, or the way I describe it in the documentary, I said me running 100 miles was like a mind, body, spirit thing. Like first thing to go is like my mental stuff, where it's like it starts creeping in. Like I could quit now. No one's gonna say anything. People are still gonna be proud of me, and that was the mental part. And then all of a sudden, that shuts off, and now it's like physical. Like I don't think my fucking legs can take another step. How am I gonna go up this enormous mountain right now? And all that. And then after that, it broke through. It was like my mind or my body wasn't carrying anymore. It was strictly spiritual. I don't know what was pushing me to keep going, but thank God, because it taught me everything I needed to know. And it was huge for me coming out being newly sober, because it was like I had been getting high for so long now. At this point, I didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was not the same person I was before I had started putting that stuff in my body. And so it's like, oh, wait a minute. Like I only identified as Sean the drug addict, Sean the alcoholic. Now, like, oh shit, I just pushed through for 100 fucking miles. Like, I'm all worth a whole lot more than I was giving myself credit for.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome, man.
But dude, it's a beautiful thing to be able to do that, and it's like, it's different than when I pushed myself in the military. You know what I mean?
Oh,
because this is like, not that the military wasn't voluntary, but nobody was telling me to do this. This was something I signed up for and did. And I would always joke, it's like I get done with an ultra, and luckily I had a woman that saw something in me, a woman come into my life that saw something in me I didn't see in myself. So she was able to, my first race, she trained me up for trail races, and I did a 10K, and I was, feeling myself. I feel good.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, you can do more. And so she had that attitude, which was,
Dude, that's badass.
It poked my competitiveness. And so I'd do a 30K, next race was a 50K, next race was a 100K. And I'd get done and be like, all right, there's no reason to ever run this far again. I'm good. And then that next day comes around and you're like, I think I can take a crack at 100. And like, you just keep going up. And it's like, all right.
But that's what you need in life, right? Like, that's what you need.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're not surrounding yourself, and so I'm big, and I actually had this conversation this morning about, I'm big about titles. One thing that we do that's probably the most dangerous thing that we do as people is we give away titles in our life. Because when you give away a title, they get access.
Mm-hmm.
And they get this perception of what it means to fulfill that title, right? And we usually give titles without accountability or responsibility to have a title in our life.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I hear one thing like, oh man, we're brothers. Well, we're not. We're not. Brothers take care of each other. Brothers aren't conditional. Brothers are there for each other. Brothers tell each other what's hard. Brothers push each other to be the best. That's what brotherhood is, right? But we give these titles away, and then these people with no responsibility and no accountability for them to be able to keep that title, and then they end up sinking us, right? And because it's like friends, like friends, like people are like, oh yeah, it's my friend. Well, I mean, he's talking shit. Like, is he? Like, that's weird friends, right? I mean, you should probably have higher standards for your friends, right? That's not what friends do. And so it's like, but we also do the same thing in relationships. Like, oh, we're family. Well, okay. I mean, or, oh, we're married. Okay. Well, but you better continue. If you're going to wake up every day and continue to be a good husband, they better continue to wake up, be a good partner as well. Right? Like, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. And if that person doesn't want to grow with you, and they don't want to struggle with you, and they choose comfort and you leave them behind, like, I think the most detrimental thing to a relationship is when people get married and they think that they can't, that their lack of ability of want to improve and grow is going to be fine, and they get comfortable because they think you're not going to leave because we're married, and that you're all like wake up every day and earn that fucking title, wife or husband.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yep.
Like, yeah, you got it. Like, when the document was signed is when the work starts. It's kind of like having a kid, right? Like, I mean, look, about the most joyful part of it is when you make it. And the responsibility doesn't start until you're a dad.
Yeah.
And guess what? When that day comes, the work hard part comes after you get the title. It's the same thing with everything in life.
Yeah.
The hard part comes after that. And you got to live up to that every day, because all the title means is that you know what right looks like. So now that you know what right looks like, it means that there's no reason that you don't live up to what right is.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like we get so wrapped behind it, but that's badass. That if you're going to have somebody that sleeps in the same bed as you, they better be the person that holds you accountable the most.
Yeah. Thankfully, in that department, I found I got lucky.
I mean, that's what I'm saying but I don't think it's a coincidence that you're out here achieving great things and pushing harder. 'Cause, I mean, how hard is it to go home? You know as well as I do. Like, let's say how hard is it to go home and have drive and be with somebody that has no drive? It's like choosing to be sober and being married to an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Like, how hard is that going to be?
Right.
It's the same thing in life. It's being with somebody that wants to, if you want to achieve goals and achieve greatness, and they are following mediocrity, it ain't going to work. Eventually, you're going to always fall to the lowest denominator.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, a lot of what you're saying, there, it reminds, like, when I very first started in all this, a lot of the things I talked about with my clients will be about is earning the day. And so I've let so many years go by, so many days just tick off the calendar where I was laying around sick because I didn't have whatever drugs I needed and just watching Netflix, just rotting away and just existing in the world. And when I got sober, for whatever reason, I discovered a passion, went to running and the fitness and everything. And like, I started saying, like, it's time to earn the day. And like, I wondered why before I had such a tough time sleeping. I could never sleep. And then once I started doing that and kind of adjusting the mental, physical, spiritual parts of my life and knowing that I feed those parts every day, no matter what, 7 days a week, I'm doing something. I'm going to push my body physically. Even if it's active rest day on a Sunday, I'm still going to go take the dog for a walk or whatever. But I check those boxes, and since then, I've never had any issues sleeping with where my head hits the pillow and it's a wrap. And that's why, because it's like, I know I earned my existence on this fucking earth. I help people. I do what I got to do. I handle my shit as a man, as a husband, as a friend, But I love what you're saying about giving away those titles, because even me, like, I'll throw those titles around like, oh, that's my brother right there. But is that person really going to, if I call them at 3 a.m. and I'm broke down in Dallas, are they going to come pick me up? Or is that phone call going to go unanswered?
Yeah, I mean, before we start giving titles away, because what we do is when we need them and they let us down, we get pissed off and we get hurt. But we're the ones that gave them the title. And most time we don't even identify what the title is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, for me, man, yeah, those are important things. And it's, and I believe, like, physical, when you talk about the physical aspect, for me, if I do a workout and I don't think about quitting in that workout at some point, then I didn't really do a workout. Like, for me, it's not just about physically getting better. It's about mentally getting better and emotionally getting better, right? Wanting to quit is emotions. You know what I mean? Like, that's the emotional side of it. The mental piece is pushing through pain, right? Oh, this hurts, I'm going to push through it. And then the physical piece is obviously the pain. I do believe, though, that you can be physically healthy and not mentally healthy. But I don't believe that you can be mentally healthy without being physically healthy. You know what I mean?
Like that, yeah.
I just don't think they exist, right? I mean, you see some bodybuilders that are mentally fucking messed up.
Right.
But they're physically just specimens.
Yep.
But I don't see anybody who's mentally healthy that is fat, out of shape. Like, it just doesn't exist, right? I'm not saying you gotta be a bodybuilder, but I'm saying, like, I don't care who you are. If you are fat, you know you're fat. You look in the mirror and you don't, nobody wakes up and says, I want to be fat.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody does. Nobody looks in the mirror and goes, damn, I look good when I'm fat.
Mm-hmm.
No, nobody. People can try to twist this, and they can try. I'm telling you right now, there's nobody on the face of the planet that grows up and wants to be fat.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Right. Dude, working with people in the gym, you know, I say it all the time and talk with people. And what got me into running and kept me away from the gym the longest time is I didn't want to feel like I went in there and looked stupid because I didn't know what I was doing. Luckily, a couple things happened that pushed me to learn what I was doing. But every time I'm in the gym and I see a bigger person come in, I'm like, fuck yeah, dude, you're in the right place. Keep coming back. I'll say hello to them. You know what I mean? I'd love to ask them if they need help or anything, but I don't want to be that guy. But man, those people, like that's a message people need to hear. It's like, you think you're going to get judged. You think you're going to get judged by coming into the gym. You're getting judged by not coming into the gym. Get fucking in here. Get around some people that are better than you.
I don't look at anybody that's in the gym, no matter where they're at in their fitness journey, and think, gosh, that person's a piece of shit.
Right.
It's never crossed my mind.
Right.
I'm like, hell yeah. Look at them over there getting, like, man, I just can't wait to see I hope they stick with it, is all I'm thinking, right? Like, I'm like, I call it closet cheerleading them on. You know what I mean? Like, it's badass. And yeah, man, I love that. I mean, I want people to be better. I'm not going to buy into these. Like, probably the biggest thing that made me stop drinking and start wanting to get on the good side is when people actually started giving me the titles that I was earning.
Mm-hmm.
So like, hey Dakota, you're drinking every day. Yeah? Well, what do you call a person that drinks every day? Oh, an alcoholic. I'm an alcoholic. Ooh.
Damn.
Man, I need to change that.
Mm-hmm.
Hey Dakota, you're treating people like shit. Yeah? A lot. Okay. So that means you're a piece of shit. Like, you're a shitty person. Oh. None of us that walk the planet, there's not one heroin addict, there's not one opioid addict, there's not one alcoholic that's proud of any of those titles.
Right.
There's just not. There's just not. But it's not until you call them that and make them realize that they're that before they're ever going to look in the mirror and need to realize they got to fix it.
Yeah.
I run a bunch of calls, and I'm a firefighter.
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell you, the one thing that keeps me on my toes and it keeps me humble and intentional, right? Like that's really, if you want to get down to summing up the problems of the world right now, is people aren't intentional.
Mm-hmm.
They aren't intentional. But to be intentional, you have to know where you're going and where you want to be, because that's the only way you can be intentional about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like getting on an airplane with no destination, or getting in your car with no destination. You're going to end up every time where you don't want to be.
Yep.
And you know what I mean? And probably sometimes in a worse spot.
Yeah.
So, I watch and I talk to some of these homeless people, and I hear overdoses, all this. And I'll tell you this, not one of them ever thought they were going to be where they're at.
Mm.
And you talk about a scary thing. You talk about a scary thing, that all of us out there on this planet are only a couple decisions away from being there.
Yep.
And I always remind myself of that. A couple bad decisions, you talk to any of them, they, at some point, life took their innocence and they ended up having the wrong people. All of them have one commonality. When they hit that point and that rock bottom, they got in touch with the wrong person.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's why it's so important. And I put the filter of people through this. It made it, my daughters actually do this for me, is if I died today, I think about everybody in my life. And if I died today and I wouldn't want my daughters around you, and I wouldn't be okay with my daughters, with you raising my daughters,
mm-hmm.
you ain't worth my time.
That's good.
You know what I mean? You're just not worth my time.
Yeah. Dude, everything you're just saying right now, like, you know, my mother was a teacher. My stepfather worked in the steel mills. I was raised right. Served in the military, 6 years in the Air Force, 4 in the Army, deployed with the Army, served in Iraq, all these things. And then all of a sudden, before I know it, within months, I'm in prison and I'm a heroin addict and I have all these felonies and I'm looking around like, how does this all happen? Like, I'm not like these people. I wasn't raised like this. I'm a veteran. Like, I'm not supposed to be here. But everything you're saying, like, I was surrounding myself around the wrong people, made a couple very poor decisions that landed me there. Not saying I didn't deserve to be there, but I wasn't raised to be there. That wasn't me.
Yeah, and that's why I say, though, like, you take a guy like you who, I mean, look, anybody that goes to serve, especially from a family like that, I mean, they were raised the right way. They understood service. They understand community. Like, that was obviously instilled in you through your parents and the way you grew up. And as soon as you left them and you jumped into this other circle, like, this is the example of, I don't care where you come from or how strong your morals are or how foundational you are, you will become who you surround yourself with.
Yeah. Yep.
You surround yourself with people who are doing good in the world, you're going to do good. You surround yourself with animals, you're going to become a fucking animal.
Yep.
It's just what it is. And so, you know, people say, they all say, I mean, everybody's on this, you know, shtick right now. And I agree with it, but I don't agree how they're doing it. But they say, you know, quit wasting my what?
Time?
Yeah. Everybody wants to tell you that people waste their time, or because that's their most valuable thing, which ultimately mean you know that is.
Yeah.
But how many people out there are wasting their own fucking time? If and that's what I think about with people is, if I gave you if you said, hey, Dakota, you want me to hold this dollar, I said, hey, look, you invest your dollar in me, and man, for every dollar you invest in me, I'm going to give you back 50 cents. You'd be giving me your dollars all day long, right? But if you came back to me, and when you were going to make that drawback, when you needed that money, and I was like, fuck, man, I only gave you a quarter back for all the dollars you did, would you keep giving me your money?
No.
You wouldn't. So it's the same thing with people in your life. If you keep giving your time to them and putting time into them, and they do nothing but take away your peace, it's always negative. You leave and you're always in a worse headspace by even talking to them, or, you know, it takes away from your running or whatever it is. Why do we keep them in our lives?
Yeah. Dude, dropping some shit today.
You know what I mean?
That's
like, why
good.
do we keep them in our lives? And it's like, it's not that you owe me anything. But damn, man, like, you got goals, you got dreams, and like, man, like, if I'm sitting here, like you talk about your schedule, it helps you to get up at 2:00 in the morning. Well, dude, if I'm wanting to hang out with you at 7:30, 8:30 at night every night, to not to get ready for you the next day, but for us to just sit around and watch baseball or whatever. And then you're tired when you get up at 2 in the morning, and then eventually you stop getting up at 2 in the morning, and then you get to a worse place. Why are you hanging out with me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, man, if you don't protect what you're trying to achieve, ain't nobody else.
Right. Right.
And everybody's, and it doesn't mean that they have to be bad people. It just means they ain't for you.
Right. Yeah, I always use the analogy, I always use football as my example, and it's like, if I'm working with an addict or anybody in life, it's like, all right, first you need to discover what's your Super Bowl, because that's everybody's team's goal. And let's just say you're the star of your own team, right? We're all working to win the Super Bowl. You better make damn sure every person on your team is helping you work towards that goal, because we all know what happens when you get one bad apple in the locker room.
Yeah.
It fucks up the whole shit. You better have a good coach who's been there before, who has a good game plan for you, like all these different things. But when I got sober, I turned my life around, and all these good things started happening, and I started holding myself to a very high standard. Yeah. And more importantly, the people I choose to allow to be around me get held to the same standard. If they can't hold it, then they're not in my life anymore. And that might sound weird, but look, I've squandered every opportunity in my life up to this point, and this one I'm holding on to with everything I got, and I will not let anybody else take it down or me take it down along with it. Yeah, man. So, gosh, it's so ironic you're saying all this. Like, you know, on the back of my gym shirts in here, it says it's not for everyone. Mm-hmm. Look, the way I live, it ain't for everyone. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying it's the best way, the right way
do it's my way.
Right.
And, you know, I'm all about, I don't expect people to come in and just live up to it. I'm like, you come in, I'm going to help you every way I can.
Mm-hmm.
But I always use this analogy. I get this in some relationships. Is like, you ever feel like you come in, you help them fix these problems, and you're like, it's like a boat. Like, you're patching these holes. Like, fuck yeah, man. Like, let's get this boat looking good again. It's going to go fast. And then there's always more problems.
Mm-hmm.
And then you turn around. It's like, sometimes you get these people in your life to where you're like, yeah, man, oh, dude, we can knock these three holes out in this boat. Let's knock these out real quick, and then we'll have 2 boats that can go fast,
mm-hmm.
right? And then you turn around, and this motherfucker's back there with this drill, fucking drilling more holes.
Yep.
Dude, I'll tell you something right now. Those people in my life, gone.
Can't do it.
Gone. And I don't even, you know what? You know where we mess up, though, is we feel like we have to give them a reason.
Mm-hmm.
I don't give people a reason. Because they know.
Yeah.
They know. And at the end of the day,
and
I don't have to.
If you don't know, it's a bigger problem. Because you should know.
You should, and they know. You know what I mean? They know. And like, man, I love people. I'll tell you right now, I'd do anything for, like, I'm not a conditional person. I don't treat you based on how you treat me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, look, at the end of the day, I think that people who say, oh, you need to earn my respect, they're the least respectable people on the face of the planet. Like, I have I'll start off the bat with no respect for you.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
Like, how about this? Like, you have my respect when you walk in the door.
Until you cross.
It's because you're a human being.
Yep.
I don't care what anybody said about you. And honestly, I don't have to respect you to still do the right thing for you. Because at the end of the day, man, like, you know, everybody gets in this whole idea of deserve. I hate the word deserve. Because I think it is the most entitled, like, mind. It's a most total. It's a selfish, entitled mindset.
Yeah.
Deserve. Because you don't deserve shit,
mm-hmm.
right? If we all got what we deserved 100% of the time, we'd all be screwed, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We'd all be screwed.
I wouldn't be here.
You wouldn't be here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've all, at some point, and majority of the time, people give us more than we deserve.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, man, I just want to be a good person. I want to help people, and I want to change the world, whether the people that I'm helping deserve it or not. You know?
Yeah.
I don't look at people through the filter of whether you deserve my time or not, because that's conditional. I'm unconditional.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to live unconditionally in a conditional world, and I'm going to unconditionally be Dakota Meyer. And I want to be a good person. And I want to help people, and I want to give people hope. The question comes down to is and I hear you talk about it, and so this would be like an interesting thing for me to hear, because I always question this, right? Is like, you know, you said you're recovering.
Mm-hmm.
You already recovered. Like, at what point, if you've been sober longer than you were an addict,
Yeah.
at what point does being an addict not even, you're not that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I always, like, because like me, like, Medal of Honor recipient, I don't even think about that anymore, because, well, Marine, I'm not a Marine.
Yeah.
Like, I know they say once a Marine, always a Marine. I'm not a Marine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a civilian.
Yeah.
I've been a civilian longer than I was ever a Marine.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so, like, I always think about these titles and how we describe ourselves, and it's like, I've heard a lot of people divorced. You know what I mean? Like, I've heard a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not hurting them today.
Yeah.
And so, I just think, like, a lot of times society forces us to have these titles that at some point it's like, man, I'm a good person. Yeah, you know what? I've been this, I've done this, but it's not me today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because also on the good side of it, you might have been a good person for a long time, but if you're a piece of shit today, you ain't nothing but a piece of shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know?
Yeah, for sure. With the addiction stuff in our
I don't ever understand it. Like, you know what I mean? I know on the addiction side of it, it's a whole different ballgame.
Right. So it's fun. I'm glad you said that, because one thing I tell people is we fall into this trap of, you know, we go to meetings, we go to treatment, we go to all these things, and we're always introducing ourselves. Hi, I'm Sean, I'm a drug addict. Hi, I'm Sean, I'm an alcoholic. And this becomes so repetitive in your head to where you start to believe it's your identity, right?
Right.
And so what I speak, luckily I don't work in the recovery industry, I kind of work on the fringe. So I do the fitness stuff, I'm not in the day-to-day and all that, and so I'm able to kind of deliver a different message than what a lot of facilities will. And for me, I'm an addict in the sense I know you and I could go out and have 2 beers right now, right? And I'd be fine. I'm not an alcoholic in the sense where I put it into my body, I can't stop. What I do know about myself is like, all right, I'll have 2 today, maybe in a couple weeks I'll have 2 more, then I might get 3, one time I'll hit 4. Probably somewhere around that point, all bets are off, and I'm like, oh, I'll be snorting rails off the back of the toilet, and then who knows where we're going from there. So I know once I'm an addict in the sense, I know if I put it in my body, I'm probably not going to be able to stop, so I stay away. But there's a whole recovered. I'm a recovered addict. I don't suffer anymore from the decision of every morning, like white knuckling, like, oh, am I going to get high today? Like, that's not a thing. That's, you know, I look back and I don't even understand who that person was, how they thought or anything. And so, but you're right about the titles. People get so hung up, and so they'll hear me say on this, you know, I'm recovered. They're like, you're never recovered. You're still recovering.
Yeah.
I had a person.
Those are weak people.
I had a person one time, the last facility that I went to ended up being mostly homeless people, but mostly all veterans too. And so they had called me and wanted me to go speak at the state capitol on behalf of the place as far as mental health and addiction stuff goes. And so this guy was asking me these questions, and everybody at this treatment center knows me. They know what I do today. You know what I mean? Like, they asked me to come back there and speak all the time. This guy was new. He didn't quite know me or what I was about. And so he calls me and he's like doing these questions with me. And he's like, all right, great. You know, I'm going to just ask you a couple questions. We'll get you signed up. You'll be good to go. And he's like, you know, are you currently suffering from mental health issues or addiction? And I was like, nope. And he's like, well, what do you mean no? And I was like, I'm not suffering from anything. And he's like, well, you're an addict, right? Your addiction's right around the corner. It's doing push-ups. It can come get you at any time. And I was like, yeah, no, that's not life today. You know what I mean? Like, I'm aware that I'm an addict, but I'm not currently suffering from anything. And he wanted to sit there and debate me back and forth. And I was like, bro, like, I won't say yes to this, because if I do, then that will portray the image that I'm just white knuckling it through life. Like, I don't know if I'm going to make it through. And that's not the fucking case. Like, you know, like, it's the same as having cancer or something else. Like,
bro,
you cure your cancer, you go on about your life. You're a cancer survivor. Yeah, I'm an addiction survivor, but it's not like I'm currently in this fucking state.
I challenge you to, man, your whole life, and you're still an addict, and I'm an addict. The problem was we got addicted to the wrong things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, being an addict is not a bad thing. I mean, if you get addicted to helping people and to loving people, and you get addicted to yourself, of making yourself better so you can help others, and you get addicted to going out and doing what you can for the world, or you get addicted to putting together this show so that you can help others,
mm-hmm.
Fuck's wrong with that?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you're addicted to going and becoming healthier.
Yeah.
Like, we're addicts. And I think that the problem is we don't have enough motherfucking addicts out there.
That's a way to put it.
To good shit.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and you know what? I'll tell you this. All this shit you're doing, I hope you never recover. You're right. You didn't recover. You ain't recovered. You're a fucking addict that finally got addicted to the right shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but it's like that those people you're talking about right there, those people, like, it became their identity, and they're never going to be anything more than that.
Right.
And, you know, when it's almost like when Marines look at, you know, there is no such thing as former Marine. Like, maybe not for you. Maybe not for you, because you're the same one still sitting at the VFW with the Uncle Rico syndrome.
Right.
Talking about what you did 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? And you know what the problem in sucks is that you never went out and achieved anything with the rest of your life bigger than that, because you set it down and you rested on what it was.
Right.
Think about that.
No, yeah.
How crazy is that?
Yep.
Right? It's like me, man. I'll tell you what really made me realize this is, I mean, I got the Medal of Honor, and I went to the first Medal of Honor convention that, you know, after I got it. Like, you become part of this society and whatever.
It's almost like the Football Hall of Fame.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And you go there, man, and people are just like, you're so great. You sit at these little tables, and these people come around, you just sign their shit. And I left there, man, I was so depressed.
Really?
Yeah. And I was like, nothing against these other guys, because I don't know them, right? But I tell you what, when I looked over and I seen 70, 80-year-old guys still wearing this medal, it scared the shit out of me that the biggest thing I was ever going to accomplish was this medal, and I was going to waste the next 60 years of my life wearing my Letterman jacket. You know what I mean?
No,
you know what I mean?
No, you're right.
And like, a lot of people don't like me for this, but I gave that medal to my daughter. She wears it. She likes it. I don't wear it. I mean, if I'm in uniform and I have to, I'll wear it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't wear it at speeches. I don't wear it because Dakota Meyer is not a Medal of Honor recipient. All these other guys that I know, they became Medal of Honor recipients. Dakota Meyer was a United States Marine that received the Medal of Honor, and Dakota Meyer is Dakota Meyer who became the Marine and who received that Medal of Honor. Dakota Meyer only got and did those things because that's who Dakota Meyer is. Not who the Marine is, not who the Medal of Honor recipient is. That's who Dakota Meyer is. And I get up every day, and whether it's holding the door for somebody, whether it's getting on that fire truck, whether it's doing this interview with you, Dakota Meyer is going to get up every day and try to get it right, because that's who Dakota Meyer is, not what Dakota Meyer's done.
Yeah.
And it's like, it scared the shit out of me, man. Like, I left there and my biggest oath to myself was, I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to achieve something bigger than this. Mm-hmm. I want, when I die, for people to get up there and read my eulogy, and they say all these great things that I've done to help others or to help them. And at the end of it, they go, oh, and he was also a Medal of Honor recipient.
That's good shit.
That's good. That's it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. One of the major pitfalls in my world, or in the addiction world, is, it was a pitfall for me, is trapping myself in this recovery bubble, where everybody's entire identity is wrapped up into being this recovering addict or this alcoholic, and everybody they talk to, everything, that's all they do. And that was a trap for me. And so luckily I discovered running and all these other avenues, to where there's a lot of people that might have run a 100-mile race or had the documentary and just be like, all right, cool, that's what I do. Like, that's what I did.
Yep.
And just stopped. And I think, people that are programmed like you or I, it's like, all right, that's done. Now what? What's next?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have it any other way.
I mean, I'm going to run. I'm doing Ironman, and 2 weeks later, I'm going to climb Mount Rainier.
Let's go.
Right? Like, 2 weeks later, I'm going to climb Mount Rainier. And I want to break a 3-hour marathon this year. Like, I got this whole list. Like, it doesn't stop. Mm-hmm. It doesn't stop there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just, and I'm not going to run around and tell everybody I'm an Ironman. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, got the T-shirt. Awesome. What's fucking next?
Are you going to get the little tattoo on your
I might. I might. But for me, man, it's about, man, what good can I do? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No,
like, what good can I do? And it's not just whenever I think I need to do good. It's not just for a certain demographic of people. It's not just for veterans. It's not just for first responders. It's for anybody. How can I help? How can I be an asset, not a liability? Mm-hmm. And the first way you do that is by being strong yourself. The biggest thing that you can do to help people is to not need them to help you. Mm. You know what I mean? Like, that's the biggest thing. Because it's like... it's
self-sufficient.
Self-sufficient. It's like this gym, right? Like, you don't see any mirrors in here. This gym's free.
Mm-hmm. Oh, really?
Yeah, I tell people all the time. I built this gym. You can come here anytime free. 24 hours. And they're like, they always ask me, they say, well, why do you offer it for free? I said, because you won't show up. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, there's There's no mirrors in there for you to look at yourself in. There's no classes to motivate you to come to. There's no, nobody's out here, just a ton of people in there, girls to look at or guys to look at. Like, there's none of that.
Mm-hmm.
There's just hard work to be done in there.
Yep.
And I know that I can make this free to eliminate your excuse, but it still won't be enough for you to believe in yourself to come in and get better.
That's good shit.
Yep.
That's good.
And the only rules in this gym, like we have rules. Every gym has to have rules, and the only rules are you have to leave better than you came, 1% better at least. Whatever you write on the board, you can only do more.
Mm-hmm.
If you write it on the board and you don't finish it, you don't ever get to come back here. Or somebody has to finish it for you.
Okay.
The only way you get to come back is if, like, let's say 100 burpees and you do 50 of them, the other people in there working out with you have to finish those other 50 for you, because that's the way it is in life. The work that you don't do, somebody else has to fucking do. So whatever you start out with, you're going to finish. And I tell people all the time, man, if you can't come in here and do the work in here, and you quit when it gets hard in here, you will 110% quit every time it gets hard out there.
Yeah.
No doubt. If you can't do it in here, you came here knowing what you were going to do. You came here knowing you're going to work out. You know it's going to sweat, know it's going to be hard. You knew the workout before you got here. And if you can't come in here and follow through on that and you quit when it gets hard, you damn sure ain't going to do it in life.
Yep. I talk about it all the time on the podcast, and I'm sure the gym is my analogy for life. The exact way I show up in the gym is how I show up in this world. And it's true for so many people. And you dip out early on your workout, you skip a couple sets and stuff like that. I guarantee you're doing that in life. For me, that's not an option.
You only show up when you feel like it.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what you only do in life?
Right.
You only do the shit you feel like doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like, so for me, I mean, this is my anchor, right? It's why I built it here on my property. For that reason, is that this is where it's like the forge, right? I come in here and I get sharp, and it's I have to have that.
Yeah.
For me, it's what works. Everybody's got their own thing. For me, this is what works.
All right, so the way we usually like to wrap up the podcast, everybody's heard from you. They can easily Google you and see all your accolades, everything you've done. But if you'd be willing to take a look in your camera, maybe throw out some I am statements to let them know who Dakota Meyer is. Dakota Meyer, sorry.
Yeah, Dakota Meyer. I gotta think about it. So I'm a father.